The event of 9/11 is a day that will forever be ingrained in the essence of not only those who responded that day, but the world. I believe it is the first time that the world witnessed in real lifetime a traumatic event, a historical traumatic event that forever changed the lives of many. On 9/11, I responded with the New York City Fire Department, with the EMS. And that day, like many, left a dark imprint in my mind, which eventually led to PTSD. Like many first responders, including veterans, we don't like to accept the realities that we suffer or have been impacted by the exposure of trauma and how that leads to mental health challenges. And for many years, I did not seek professional help. And due to not seeking that professional help, despite family members seeing the paintings on the wall, seeing the signs on the wall telling me, "You're not the same," I did not seek help because I did not want to be stigmatized. It is something that at the time, during those days, it was something to be ashamed of. Today it's different though. There's much more awareness. There's much more education regarding PTSD. Sadly, when I was a service member, that education, that awareness, that advocacy did not exist. And because of it, not blaming PTSD, but much loss has come off it that not only has affected me, but affected my family. For many years, I've went through different mental health institutions trying to seek help. It was to no avail. I never received any trauma-based therapy. And I found myself going through revolving doors at many different New York City psych wards with so many different regimens of medication. And it wasn't until I went through Columbia Presbyterian Military and Family Research Institute that I finally got the proper trauma-based therapy that led to recovery and healing, along with my discovery of my grandfather's military service during World War II and the Korean War. He was a boarding engineer. Boarding engineer were soldiers from the island of Puerto Rico, part of a unit, part of a regiment known as the 65th Infantry Regiment. And once I delved into that journey, into that path of researching their service, I found the cause in honoring them. And through the help of the Boarding Engineers Congressional Gold Medal Ceremony National Committee, I have been engaged in weekly social media postings and trying to educate the community, the masses, the younger generation about these heroes and their service and their sacrifices. I think that is important to just share bits and pieces of my story for the greater good, for the greater cause. I usually don't like to sit before a camera and share my memories, my story. Sometimes it becomes a trigger factor with other elements. But let me just share that the way I came across my grandfather's military service during World War II and the Korean War was that there was a long time rumor about him having a bullet wound in his shoulder. And it wasn't until recently a few years ago, when I started doing research into his unit's history, that I inquired about this scar from my mother. She did not know exactly what war he partook in, but what I did was I basically hired military researchers went through Ancestry.com, New York City Public Library, and through our very arduous task and being committed, I eventually found a thorough history of his service, which eventually also provided closure in my personal life as a child and forgiving my father, for I grew up in a domestic violence environment, and understanding my grandfather's military service, how he was affected by PTSD, made me understand how my father was affected by PTSD and how his childhood affected my childhood, and to a certain extent how my childhood affected my children's childhood. So with that, I believe it that making these very crucial discoveries has led to a path, to a road of forgiveness, of love, of empathy, of healing, chipping away at a rough ashlar and trying to become a better person. Because after all, isn't that what life is all about? Becoming a better version of yourself. And I really owe a lot to my family for staying the course and with their ups and downs and dealing with my mental health struggles, along with my heroes, the Borinquen years, where they have given me a cause, a place in life, and feeling like somebody. I would like to close with this statement that every time a veteran or first responder goes out to the field, whatever they face, whatever they encounter, they bring it back home. And sometimes these first responders don't have the necessary tools of how to manage that traumatic exposure they encounter on the job. And eventually it's like a slow leak at a dam. Eventually the wall gives way. So my message to first responders is seek help. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to say you're having a hard time. It's okay to say you had a hard time with that call. It's okay to say you're dealing with depression. You're feeling suicidal. There's no shame in that. Reach out.